to the Thom Hartmann Program.
And happy birthday to Jacob Dean, our associate producer, who helps make this program possible. Jacob is one of the hardest working guys in radio. He is absolutely spectacular. He's got his own show on Radio or Not. And God bless you, Jacob. Thank you. Happy birthday. Great to have you with us. Anyhow, Alan Corwin is with us, the website gunlaws.com. He is the owner-operator of Bloomfield Press, author of numerous books, including his latest, After You Shoot. And, Alan, welcome to the program.
Very nice to be with you at last, Tom.
Thanks for joining us. I'm curious, setting aside for a moment the merits, and we can certainly debate those, of a stand your ground and shoot first law giving more latitude to the average citizen to shoot somebody than our police officers have or our military has in Afghanistan. Don't you think that there's a problem when we have lobbying groups and corporations who benefit from legislation, specifically the NRA that makes more money selling weapons, represents the weapons manufacturers, and Walmart, which has fewer lawsuits when more homicides are called justifiable, literally writing laws and having them laundered through the Koch brothers American Legislative Exchange Council to lawmakers in various states to pass?
Boy, that's a mouthful, Tom. You've got about 6 things in there. There is no shoot-first law. Self-defense law in America allows you to protect your life or the life of your family or other innocents if you're seriously threatened with serious bodily injury or death. That's been law since the first written law in 1700 B.C. So it's not really shoot first. If somebody's coming at you with a club trying to kill you and he's just killed somebody else, you don't have to wait for him to hit you over the head. And I think that's good law. Wouldn't you agree?
No. I would say that good law.
Hit first?
Do police officers operate under the law?
Oh, absolutely. Well, most of the time.
When can a police officer discharge his weapon?
When to prevent a serious bodily injury, certain enumerated crimes, the real heinous ones, murder, arson of an occupied structure, rape, sexual assault of a minor. Same thing you have.
There's a very specific series of events that they have to go through. Same with our soldiers in Afghanistan. They have the first, it's the what was the sequence? Shout, show. You have to shout, stop, show your weapon. Shove. You've got to try to stop the offender with using non-lethal force, and then finally discharge your weapon in a way that's not lethal. Shoot a warning shot, and then you can use lethal force. And if a soldier doesn't do those things, they will be brought up on charges unless they're being shot at to begin with.
Well,
to the best of my knowledge, Trayvon Martin could not shoot George Zimmerman with a bag of Skittles.
Well, I can't speak to what the military does, and the Trayvon Martin case will come down to if justice is served, either Zimmerman will be found guilty and punished, or Zimmerman will be found innocent, and then it's actually a heroic act.
No, I would say that's nonsense.
In the middle of the commission of a felony, then that's a good thing. Right?
Alan, no, you've completely missed the point. Then, I don't disagree with that statement in the abstract, but the fact of the matter is that for 6 weeks, a guy who chased somebody down and shot them for the crime of walking while black in a white gated community, that guy has been running around loose on the streets.
You don't know that that's true. If, as the evidence seems to show...
I have heard have you not heard the 9/11 tape of him talking to the police and the police specifically telling him, stop chasing that kid?
I listened to all the 9/11 tapes, and apparently Zimmerman was getting back into his car and attacked from behind. If that's true, and if his head was being smashed into the concrete, that's a serious threat. You can lose your sight. You can die from that.
And it would have showed up in the videotape of him in the police department, and there was none of that.
That wouldn't have showed up in the videotape. Whatever happened on the ground, whoever was on top, and if the guy's head was being smashed into the ground,
what's he doing chasing a kid who's walking back from the store to begin with?
You're missing the point here.
No, this is the point. The point is that white people in this country now feel if they've got a gun, like they've got the power to kill black people and not have to answer for it.
Well,
they felt that way for a long, long time, but these kind of laws put it on steroids.
That's absolute nonsense. You don't have that right. If you do that, you go to prison or you're executed.
Not true.
If you do what you described, it's
not true.
Served.
If the African American community had not raised a stink about this, George Zimmerman would still be free, and you know it.
George Zimmerman still is free, last I heard.
You get my point.
No, but George Zimmerman still is free. There has to be enough evidence to charge you with a crime. If, in fact, he was defending himself against a felonious assault,
Alan,
he should go free, and this was an honorable
situation.
Setting
aside the I mean this is a genuine and honest question.
Go ahead.
Do you believe that if the 17-year-old who got shot had been a white, blonde girl or boy, and the shooter who outweighed that person by 100 pounds and was 10 years older had been an African-American man, that he would have been allowed to go free?
Well, what you're asking here is whether the justice system works, not whether the laws are proper.
Yes, that's been my point from the very beginning. And what I'm saying is that these stand your ground and shoot first laws make it even worse.
Well, stand your ground law, the opposite of a stand your ground law is a runaway and hide law. And they had that in Massachusetts for a while, where if a criminal broke into your house, you had to abandon your house and leave it to the criminal.
We're not talking about your house. We're talking about public spaces.
Well, you were talking about Afghanistan. I'm trying to explain this in a way your listeners can understand. Should you, in America, be required to run away and hide if you're attacked, or can you defend yourself against a felonious assault? And in America, you can defend yourself. Now, you can't go shoot first and just shoot at people the way you're describing it. You can defend your life if there's a serious threat. And everybody has that right, and in my opinion, everybody should have that right.
Why is it, Mayor Bloomberg cited these statistics today. In Florida, since the Stand Your Ground and Shoot First law was signed into law, the very first one in the country by Jeb Bush, Florida cases have increased of so-called justifiable homicide from 12 per year to 36 per year. That's a 200% increase. Compared with 5 years before the passage of the law. Texas, they passed the Stand Your Ground and Shoot First law. Justifiable homicide went from 26 per year to 45 per year, 70% increase. Arizona, we saw a 49% increase, 10 per year up to 15 per year. Kentucky, they put this law into place. It went from 1 every other year to 6 per year. That's a 1,050% increase. Georgia, 100% increase. Missouri, 122% increase.
I get the point. And these are shootings where the person was found not guilty and it was legitimate self-defense, right?
Specifically under these laws, it was considered justifiable homicide,
okay,
yes.
So let's look at the statistics on who's getting murdered in America, which is what you're talking about.
No, what I'm talking about is who's getting murdered in America under the Koch brothers Stand Your Ground and Shoot First laws.
Well, I'm not sure how the Koch brothers get into it.
The Koch brothers fund the American Legislative Exchange Council, which is the front group that laundered this legislation for the NRA and Walmart and got it into the hands of Republican lawmakers in 25 states.
Do you remember when Lori Peterson was in the news week after week, month after month? Well, that story...
No, I don't, actually.
Okay. Well, it was a big news story for months.
When was this?
A couple of years ago. While that was going on, 740 people were murdered in Los Angeles. This is from the L.A. Times. The 740 people were 90% black, all of them young males, and the perpetrators were all black. The problem with murder in America is that it's a demographic and geographic and socioeconomic problem. You had one white woman, Lori Peterson, probably murdered by her husband, at least that's what the media said, and 740 black young males were murdered by other black young males.
I think, Alan, you're making my point.
You don't hear the reports. You don't hear the reports.
I think you're making my point, and it's that kind of institutional racism, that kind of blind eye is getting even blinder now when people simply say, "Oh, I felt intimidated" or "I felt threatened."
So
because he was black.
If you're saying the media doesn't cover this, so we get a distorted view, I completely agree. 740 murders, all black, not one news story, but a reporter at the L.A. Times who did a feature on it, and nobody else covers it.
Yeah, this was my original question. If the 17-year-old kid who had gotten killed was white and the killer who outweighed him by 100 pounds had been black, this story would be very, very different. Alan Corwin, gunlaws.com. Thank you, Alan.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And is it really a good idea for our laws to be written by lobbyists for the NRA and Walmart and then laundered by the Koch brothers?